Hey guys, so I just wanted to do a quick update to my tier list since there's been quite some changes since my last one. My last tier list was uploaded before the release of Ariel and Zeus. There wasn't anything too great about Zeus, however, Ariel did have a significant impact on the meta, making the Moist meta one of the stronger team comps in the game. By using a team that had Vivian, Ariel, and Airi, not only did you have amazing shields, but amazing damage reduction and defense across your entire team. This resulted in an extremely formidable team comp that could be used in the majority of the game's content, including Raid. This team had been dominating the game's meta until now. With the release of Eros and Psyche, all Archer teams have now gone into the fold. All Archer teams that include Eros and Psyche have sustainability properties comparable to the all-water teams. Which one of the teams you will ultimately choose will depend on the boss and its immunities. But regardless, you should be investing in both teams during the time of this video, with Archer teams as a priority. Some bosses can be weak to Archers, so you use the all-Archer team, whereas some bosses might be weak to Warriors, so you use the all-Water team. While we're on this note, the release of Zeus had improved the viability of all Mage teams, which rivals the all-Warrior team, but both of these team comps have dropped down in viability with the existence of the all-Archer and Water teams. Now that we understand the current state of the game, let's quickly dive down onto the tier list. So being that your Archer and Water teams are the current meta, you'll see that they take up the majority of the top tier. In S tier, we have the newest character Psyche along with most of the 5 stars, but keep in mind many of the other Archers are only that high when considering an all-Archer team. Otherwise, they would be dropped down to B tier or below when looked at on their own. These all-Archer teams can be used in most of the game's content, especially Raid, which is mainly how this tier list is weighed, in addition to Guild Territory and Dark Lord's Tower. Alongside the Archers, you have your strongest water characters such as Vivian and Ariel. Vivian and Ariel are essential pieces of the all-water team, hence why they are in S tier. Vivian creates most of the shields, whereas Ariel provides some shield with additional damage. Next, we drop down to A tier. Now you'll see Artemis and Mary being a tier lower than most of their Archer counterparts, and that's mostly due to a few reasons, such as the lack of team buffs when compared to Cayron and Gaia, or lack of damage or sustainability when compared to Kana. A few changes you'll notice is a lot of the S tier characters before, such as Yui, Ymir, Mia, and Lugrant, have dropped down to A tier. The reason for this is the result of the all-water and Archer teams taking over the meta. Because you have even stronger heals from Eros in an all-Archer team, other healers such as Yui, Mia, and Lugrant have found less use cases and as a result drop down a tier in my book. Because you have strong shields from the water teams and Psyche for Archer teams, it makes having characters like Ymir less relevant. The other change in this tier is the addition of Airi, which is explained by the strength of the water team meta currently. Essentially everyone else not involved in these two metas have either dropped down a tier or stayed in the same tier. Going down next is the B tier. These are characters that are ultimately great to have but are not required. I know people are still going to ask about the collaboration characters, so I've chosen to include them here, but want to say that with the existence of the Archer and Water metas, I have found myself hardly ever using any of the collab characters, and this includes Ice, Ryu, Megumin, and Aqua. Additionally, we have Efreet, who is still very strong for most content besides Raid. She definitely outclasses most of the characters below her. After B is C tier. You'll see some new faces here such as Aina and Joan for instance. Aina was used for her elemental damage reduction from fire raid bosses, but Psyche can do the same thing, so Aina is moved down in the tier list. Similarly, Joan was also used for her light elemental damage reduction in Raid, and with the release of Eros, who also provides the same thing, there's even less use cases for Joan, hence she was moved down a tier. For the same reason, this was also why Ymir was moved down a tier as well. Other characters in the C tier who have very niche use cases include Bel and Hestia, Darkness, Odin, and Khaleesi. Bel and Hestia and Darkness are both great characters but provide little team utility and can be replaced by characters like Efreet and Vivian respectively. The only reason why Odin and Khaleesi are this high and not lower are because of their stunning abilities and strong passive for a stunlock team, which is still useful even today. Everyone else that I haven't mentioned is in the bottom D tier. This doesn't mean that they're garbage, but their use cases where they shine are far in between. For example, Theseus is only useful in all warrior teams, but is garbage everywhere else. The same can be said for Ares. He does a lot of damage, but doesn't help the team in any significant way. Athena can be used in stun-lock teams, but her damage isn't as strong as Odin's, nor are her passives as useful as Khaleesi, so she stays in the bottom tier. Dark Lord is just a decent damage dealer, but nothing beyond that. She's been kinda forgotten. Rosie's a one-trick pony, but useful to have when the boss has a ghost immunity. Belphegor is only good in slasher mode, and the same can be said about Dark. Lucifer only does strong damage against fire enemies. Lilith is only there to buff Cain when the boss is weak to Cain. And lastly, there is Zeus, who is cool on his own and in mage teams, but doesn't provide any amazing buffs to the team, so he's not essential to get. And that concludes my tier list. In summary, this tier list is mostly focused on late to endgame content, so take it with a grain of salt. It represents the characters that I mostly use today, and all my characters are maxed out. The current two metas are the full archer followed by the full water teams, so those are who I would recommend investing first in no particular order. If you guys had any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. That's all I have for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.